Hello there, world. This is your boy Russell.
Yo, I'm Glen.
Nyebor.
And today we wanted to discuss a topic that we were wondering, is it possible that what could possibly happen? We were discussing the movie The First Purge, came out in 2018, and it's the origin of how the Purge started. There have been others that, led before that, but this would have been the prequel to what was happening. So today we wanted to do something a little fun. Now, if you are familiar with the Purge, or if you're not, it is 12 hours of where you are able to get away with murder. You can just rob, whatever, but you have 12 hours to do so. So today in our format, the brothers here, Nyebor and Glen, are going to give arguments for or against. They're going to do 3 back and forth. So we're going to have Nyebor start with the pro.
So Glen, in about an hour, I want you to check your door because I'm FedExing you some smoke on this, okay?
Oh my God.
That's how we got started, baby.
Okay.
Let's get ready to rumble.
The gloves are off, y'all.
All right, let me start my argument. This is my first argument. I'm gonna share my screen with you brothers. Oh, that's not it. What? That's not it. 1 second. Let's see what's going on. We might have to stop.
The smoke is showing up. Smoke is showing up, brother.
Right, smoke is already. There we go.
All right.
There we go.
Okay, there we go. So my first argument is, let's start with events on January 6th, when right-wing white supremacists attempted a coup d'etat on our government. According to the Southern Law Poverty Center, in 2020, there were 316 white supremacy groups in existence. Ouch. Although these hate groups are plentiful, they share the same ideologies, which can be found in Mein Kampf and the Turner Diaries, both pictured there. Now, how does this tie into the Purge? Well, I'll tell you how. There are 3 things these groups staunchly believe in: little to no government oversight on their actions, a homogenous society, they want no change. Minorities create a welfare state. Okay, so the beliefs I mentioned are played out in the first Purge, where it's supposedly a government experiment to allow people to let loose their inhibitions, but it was a ruse. The government had mercenaries dressed in hate group regalia go to disenfranchised neighborhoods that were predominantly Black or Hispanic to massacre people, which would further tilt the scales in favor of white elites. That's my first argument.
Okay.
Well, and that is a valid argument.
Right.
Kind of goes into my first reason why it wouldn't happen, is because sensible people aren't going to go for this, especially stubborn-ass Americans. I mean, yes, they were offering $5,000, but you had to wear special contact lenses, and a lot of people can't even put in contact lenses. And you had to get a tracker put in your arm. Now, Americans are greedy, whether they're supremacists or not. But more importantly than that, they're selfish and they're skeptical. Selfish as in, I'm not going to risk my safety and my existing possessions for $5,000. What can $5,000 really do for you? I mean, you can't buy a house with it. You can barely buy a car. You might get some clothes, you might get some bling, but sensible people are not going to risk their life and their possessions for $5,000.
Okay.
Next is that people are skeptical. As far as putting a tracker in your body, half of the country won't even take a vaccine to keep from dying. In Ohio, they offered a special $1 million lottery with 5 separate drawings of $1 million each, only for people who got vaccinated. At this point, we're still under 45% vaccination statewide. So if money's the driving force, why don't we have 100% vaccination in the state? It's because people are skeptical and they don't trust the government. But some financially strapped people might be tempted by Uncle Sam, but Uncle Sam doesn't pay up front. You have to survive to get this $5,000, and who knows how long it's going to take to get paid after you survive.
That's right.
Because honestly, I haven't even got my second stimulus check. So why would I believe the government's going to put out these timely purge payouts? And also, why would I think the government's only going to track me for 12 hours? It's like a tracker in my arm. And then in addition to the people, it's also the location, because this movie implies that, they were trying to control population of the lower classes. But Staten Island is not a third world country. It has an annual GDP of $14.5 billion, which is more than the GDP of at least 40 countries worldwide. In this borough, this ain't even a city. Right. You know what I'm saying? The average income per person there is $70,000 a year. So again, what is $5,000 going to do to sway the average Staten Islander to risk their life and possessions?
Right.
And then I go back to lower classes, which we know is a code word for not only low income, but also minorities, like you said.
Yeah.
Well, why pick Staten Island? Because the demographic of Staten Island is over 70% white. It's only about 10% black, and Park Hill Projects is not, as the movie described, the heart of the community. Maybe it's the heart of Wu-Tang's community, but it's not the heart of Staten Island. I think people probably say that the Staten Island Zoo or the Children's Museum of Staten Island or the Snug Harbor Cultural Center and Botanical Gardens are places that you get the ambience of Staten Island as opposed to lounging up the Park Hill Project. And again, Staten Island is one of New York City's biggest tax bases. They're not about to sacrifice this island. So that's why I don't think it would happen. It's because of the people and where they're located, especially, it wouldn't happen.
Well, very strong arguments to start off with, gentlemen. Now, let's see, Mike, your second argument of why you think it's possible.
Excellent. This is my second argument.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. So my you ready? So my second argument is relaxed gun laws. There are currently 20 states in the union that have the most lenient gun laws. For example, in Texas, you can open carry guns without a permit. Already trending now. California, a blue state, a liberal state, just ended their 32-year ban on assault weapons like AK-47s. The young people call it a Draco nowadays. Okay. Okay. An appeal court judge held it was a violation of the Second Amendment and compared an AR-15 to a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, I heard that.
Swiss Army knife, AR-15. I don't think so, homie. I don't think so.
An elected official, right?
Precisely. Okay, like the first Purge, they made a sale of guns and other lethal weapons readily available in minority neighborhoods, so they could arm the gangs and form militias to exterminate each other. Unfortunately, easy access to guns without a vigorous vetting system can lead to violence, chaos. So far in 2021, when I did research, there were 267 mass shootings. So that's my second argument, guys.
And I agree. People kill people. Guns don't kill people. People kill people. You're right. So, but here's the thing about this. I'm glad you kind of went to the legal direction, because legally, so my second argument is that legally this could never come to fruition. So the spokesman for the NFFA mentioned that they got this ideal approved by Congress. How? Congress doesn't make special laws for one city. For example, the esteemed senators of Illinois are elected to vote on laws that affect their constituents in Illinois. New York state senators and state representatives make laws that govern New York State and its cities. And again, remember, Staten Island is not even a city, it's a borough of a city. So the federal government cannot make the state sacrifice one of its cities for a social experiment. State government can't make the city sacrifice a part of the city for a social experiment. And we already know that New York City wasn't going to give up Staten Island without a fight because of all that tax revenue, like I mentioned. But to that point, the spokesman in the movie says, well, basically, he implies like the city, the state, and the federal government don't care because they got the will of the Staten Islanders. We talked to the people of Staten Island and they have voted and we're going to give them what they want, whatever they voted on. Now, I have to admit, there are some people in Staten Island who want to purge. In fact, the first character on screen literally says he wants to purge. His name is Skeletor, and he appears to be a mentally disturbed homeless crack fiend that hates everyone. I don't think he cared about the money. I don't think he cared about tracking devices in his arm. I don't think he cared about life, his nor other people's lives. And from his funky ass appearance, I don't think he cared about personal hygiene either. But more importantly, I would bet my house that Skeletor did not care about the democratic process. Therefore, was not a registered voter. I would also double that bet and say that many of those anti-purge protesters, the business owners, the property owners on Staten Island, I bet they are registered voters. So when they got to the poll and they get to the ballot, it reads something like, vote to approve the 12-hour purge period. Whether you voluntarily participate or not, you and or others may be disturbed, tortured, raped, murdered, or otherwise inconvenienced, and all your property may be damaged or stolen. There will be no laws enforced during this period. There will be no emergency services to aid you during this period. If you live, you will receive a minimum of $5,000, but you may receive more compensation if you applied to voluntarily participate in the purge. Now, wait a minute. Who was voting yes for this? We know that the people that we talked about, selfish, skeptical people in Staten Island, are not voting for this. Skeletor and his homeboys don't vote. So how does this get passed into a law that negates every other law? This legally is not going to happen. That's my second argument.
Okay. Well, again, I'll say both compelling arguments, gentlemen. Now, for the final round, which I'm anticipating is going to be exciting, especially since there's supposed to be some smoke. So the package
fire.
Fire. Or is the package at the door now? Don't go check your door, man. Don't go check your door then. Here's the fire. So, gentlemen.
Hey, I heard the doorbell ringing right now. Like, hey, FedEx man at the door right now.
He gonna get purged.
So, Brother Nyebor, please go ahead and present us with this final exciting argument of the pro.
Okay. So, my last argument, and this is going to be a knockout blow. There was already a purge-like event. Ancient Rome had something called Saturnalia. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. It was a predecessor to Christmas that started from December 17th and then on December 23rd, my birthday, okay? It was a week of debauchery, excessive eating, drinking, and sex. It reminded me of when Glen and I turned to UD. We had debaucheries numerous times. Hey, listen, like Archie Bunker, those were the days.
Facts.
Okay, during this week, right, there were role reversals. Women acting like men, slave masters serving as slaves. But moreover, you could pursue your grievances any way you want without fear of any consequences like committing murder. So let's say Glenn was my op. Op is a cool word these young cats use now in the rap. Glenn's my op. I can chase him down and murk him, chop him up, and dispense his body, and no one would care. And like I said, folks, this is my closing argument. This happened already. And remember, history repeats itself sometime.
Unfortunately.
You know, I can't believe how you're just leading into these points that I have. You know, it seems like it's like we didn't talk about this, and it's like you must have read my notes, because you mentioned this happened already in the Roman Empire. And where's the Roman Empire now? What happened to the Roman Empire? So that actually is my last argument. This is the simplest, but maybe the strongest reason against the purge is that it's a self-defeating idea. I mean, the purpose of the purge is to cut some national debt with population reduction through mindless rage and violence. The spokesman says, you know, the government can't afford to keep providing these social programs for the lower classes, right? Well, I submit that the short-sighted ideal of a purge will actually cost the administration more money on the back end. Because what about the day after the purge? I mean, you just created a whole slew of new cases. A lot of these lower class people survived. And now your administration has got a shit ton more checks to write, because how many businesses were destroyed? How many people did that make unemployed now? How many homes were destroyed, public or private housing? So how many people are now made homeless? Even if you didn't lose your job, how many people got seriously injured or disabled where they can't work again? How many people are going to suffer from PTSD trauma caused from this horrific night? Are kids walking to school the next day through blood-soaked streets, strewn with body parts? Is the school still standing? How many children are now orphans because their parents were slaughtered? How much does it cost to remove every body from each vacant lot, abandoned warehouse, hotel, house, apartment, identify the victims, perform autopsies. Because remember, it's the day after Purge. So now you got to do all this shit legally. so now we got to collect all these bodies to figure out who they are, what happens with that. How much aid does New York City and New York State have to give to Staten Island to rebuild a $14.5 billion GDP? And since this went through Congress, that means the feds are involved. So now they got to go ahead and send the National Guard, send FEMA on in there. None of that is free. Oh, and on top of that, everybody needs their $5,000 as well. Remember that. So bottom to top, your administration is going to be paying out the ass for years because of this condition. And it's just not something that's sustainable. Clear example, the Roman Empire fell into despair following practices like this. And with our society, we don't have an emperor. So come next election, your ass is out of there. So how does your administration benefit from a purge idea? That's why this would never be put out. There never be a sanctioned purge as a political idea. And that's my third argument.
Well, I'd hand it to you, brothers, on both sides. Well, I know you'll edit out that whole debauchery at UD, and I wasn't.
Why would you do that?
Why'd you bring it back up, though? Shit, I don't.
Because you'll edit, or somebody will edit it. Anyway, but we would like to know, actually, after hearing both of our brothers go ahead back and forth with that debate, it's really about the interaction with you, and we appreciate those who have been clicking and those who have subscribed to our videos. Again, we're on YouTube. It's GNR Multimedia LLC. You can find us on YouTube, on Instagram at GNR Multimedia, and you can check us out on our individual pages. Excuse me. That's Nyebor. My bad. You want to tell them out and shout out, brother?
Yeah, it's basically Nyebor_GNR.
At Glen_GNR.
And Russell_GNR. But we would really like to hear from y'all. Again, click that subscribe button for us, and please give us your input. We're always about the people. We want to know. We discuss these things like everybody. We want to know what y'all think. So we appreciate your time. Have a good one. And signing out is Russell for GNR.
Glenn.
And Nyebor for GNR. Take care, everyone.
Peace.